Hey everyone, it's Becca at So Darn Twisted. Today I'm doing a quick and dirty, hopefully quick, tutorial for making this fan pocket embellishment. You can use it in your journals, on covers, on, just on the pages in general. They make really nice little pockets and stuff like that in there. So, and I say, they also go really nicely on covers. You can send them out in happy mail. You can do many things with these. But yes, it's another requested tutorial, so I thought, well, I needed to get one done. Here we are. So let's crack on. I'll show you what you need. All right, so as usual, I'm going to go through a list of supplies with you. It looks like a lot here, but it's some of this is just optional, so don't be overwhelmed that you need so much to do something so small, because you won't need all of this. But the fundamental things that you will need is contrasting or complementary card. I recommend card rather than paper for these. You'll want some lace. You will want ink and an ink door, but I've taken to using corks because I have so many different colours on the go that the bigger daubers just take up a lot of room, whereas these just kind of stack. So it's like, oh, brilliant. Hole punch for punching out your base, either as an eyelet, or we'll get to that in a minute. Glue, you'll definitely need glue. You can use a corner rounder or a corner punch if you want to. Paper trimmer or scissors, you can get by with either. And then some embellishments for putting onto the pieces of the fan if you choose to. I've got fabric like this, which obviously when it comes to it I'll show you what I mean, but for where the fan point meets, there's a range of different things that you can do, so we'll get to that bit when we get there. I just like to pre-warn you to have these kind of things available. Okay, let's tidy this away and we'll get started. So before you start cutting out your cardstock and everything to make the fan, I suggest having a look. If you know that you're putting it into a current journal, I suggest you look at the measurements of your pages, because this will tell you the maximum measurements that you can have, and it obviously as well depends on how you intend to place it on the page. So for example, if you plan to have it so that your meeting point is here, you can make sure that that is only as wide as that there, because anything outside of that when it comes round will interfere and it will be ruined by your book trying to fold. If you're having it going that way and you're happy to go over the edges of your page, then allow for that measurement, but I doubt very much you'll want to go past the edge of your book cover. If you're having it, say, this way, same rules apply as before. Find your centre point roughly, and just kind of say, well, I know that realistically I'm not going to want that to be any more than kind of 9.5 to 10 centimetres in length, which will take it to about this point here, which is kind of nice. So just make sure that you have a look at that if you're doing it to go into a specific journal. But obviously I know a lot of people get really carried away and go and do this huge one and then go, I can't fit this in anything other than a massive journal. We've all done it, don't pretend. Right, so now that I know that 9.5 is my measurement, obviously if you have directional paper, work within the direction when you're cutting. Don't try to just kind of take random cuts. Well, you can, but if you wanted it to look sort of really elegant and professional looking, professional as if. Okay, so I'm going to be using a combination of these three pieces here, and I quite like the idea of having this one as like my top edge, so that that point there is the very foremost blade of the fan. So now you know what your maximum length can be. you need to create a taper of that length from the widest point down to the narrowest point. You don't want to cut it to a sharp point, because if you do that, when you try to put an eyelet or anything in it, it will just split it. So don't do that. If you've got directional paper, don't know if I already said that. If you've got directional paper, have it going in the right direction. So I know that 9.5 was my maximum height. It could have gone to 10, but I don't like to push it because it does also depend on the kind of lace that you're using. So what I'm going to do here is just do a quick along. So I would say at your bottom have kind of 1.5 centimeters, maybe 2 centimeters as your base line, somewhere around that kind of, and then you're going to bring it up to a taper. I'm going to do it that way so that I can see what I'm doing here. So, okay, so there we go. That's your first blade basically done. Now obviously, if you don't want such a wide gap there, you'll need to put your eyelet further up, but you can do it. Just take that so that your big measurement will move to kind of up here. If you can see that, I'll zoom it in a second and show you what I mean. Let's just bring that over there. So it doesn't matter because all this will be on the back, but okay, so this might help. So if you want a wider taper, your baseline can be down the bottom, that's fine. If you want the fan blade to taper in smaller at the bottom and you still want to use an eyelet, that's fine, as long as you leave enough room for the initial measurement part up here, because you'll put your eyelet in slightly further up is all. So that is a judgment call on your part, however you want your blades to look. Excuse me. So once you've got that in place, you can either use a paper trimmer or you can just use your scissors and get that cut out, and then that's your template piece done. Okay, so that's blade number 1 done. So now you can use that template and just cut out, you know, a couple more of each of the blades that you want, so on whatever paper or card you're using. Now ordinarily I'm not this precise generally when I'm doing them, but when it's for a tutorial it's better to be a little bit more precise for people. But you know, if you just want to go ahead and just hand cut out a load of vaguely similar shapes, that's fine too. You know, you don't have to be quite so precise as this. I'm ordinarily as well, if it's just a regular pattern paper, go ahead and, you know, kind of space them that way. But because this paper is directional, obviously I want the pattern to be going in the same direction, facing upwards. So on this occasion I won't be doing it that way. I can't even do this today apparently. Okay, and last one. Now I must apologise for my lack of videos recently. I was away on a little break with my husband down in Devon, which was really lovely, but for some months now I've known that I'm gonna have to quit my career as a photographer, which I've done for over 15 years now, and I had a wonderful photography studio that COVID killed, and unfortunately COVID also kills off clients very, very quickly for the likes of us freelancers. So we were kind of stuffed there, but you know, you think, well, you know, I'll build back up, it's fine. But when I caught COVID last December, ironically at my very best friend's wedding, it's exacerbated massively the pre-existing medical conditions that I have, one of which is very, very much like multiple sclerosis. And it's pretty much left me in a position where I cannot do my job anymore because it's too much of a physical job. So I kind of made the decision that, you know, I know I've got to quit, but I've been putting off letting everyone know, you know, putting it up to all my clients and friends and whatnot. And I did it the other day, and it's just kind of knocked me about a bit, I suppose. It's like it hits home a little bit more then. So yeah, I've not really been in the mindset for making, let alone, you know, having the mental capabilities to do a tutorial. But then thankfully the lovely Aurora, who bought my rose garden journal, she bought it, a lot of it for inspiration, to see things that I'd made and be inspired to make something similar herself, which was obviously, you know, amazing. And she made the fan, and a lot of people were saying, oh, yeah, tutorial. So it's okay, I'm up. So I said to her, you know, I don't mind, because, you know, I could do with making a video about something really. So here we are, and hopefully this will get me back into the swing of things. So now you're going to figure out the arrangement of your fan. I say now, you can do this bit in any order that you please, but I like to have a little visual of what order I'm going to have it in first, and then I can just go through it piece by piece to do the next steps. You know, you guys know what I'm like. It's all about the process. But I tend to say, you know, if you've got a heavier pattern and a lighter pattern, you know, kind of that's dark, that's heavy, that's light, so I would put that one in the middle. But that's just, again, my own sensibilities. So I know then that is the order I want them to be in. So now decide whether or not you want to round or clip any of your corners, you know, that kind of thing, which obviously isn't necessary. If you want to do it, do it. Personally, I don't really bother with the tops because the lace is over it anyway. So it's really only if you want the bottoms done. And even then, you can just get your rounder and just, you know, kind of just take that sharp corner off. You know, so it just makes it a little bit more rounded. So that's how I tend to approach that. So we'll go ahead and bang through all of these, and then we'll come back. All right, next stage is the obligatory inking. If you're using like really dense, thick lace across the top that will obscure that top lip, then don't worry about inking that one. But if you're using, you know, a really lightweight, so I'm sorry, I'm really not doing well there today, am I? Because I'm going to be using quite a lightweight lace, I'm going to be able to see, so I will be doing that top part, but obviously do what you need to do for yours. Right, so I've got all of those inked, and the next step is your lace. Now I actually forgot that I'm going to be using this lace, not this lace. This lace was something I pulled out because I wanted to demonstrate something to you, so you'll have to forgive me. Now, ordinarily when I'm making these, and God, I've made many of these now, I tend to say that, oh, I got that modelled there, didn't I? I tend to say that don't do, like, you know, when you see these fans that are, you know, actual fans, the lace is layered and then folded behind so that it will fold up, and then when it's pulled apart, it's the lace that holds it together. So you've always got a piece folded as well. Now, you can do that if you're going to be using incredibly thin lace, because otherwise you're creating a lot of bulk behind that, which can actually just cause the card to lift a bit, you know, at the ends and stuff, and it can get very, very fiddly trying to glue that down again, kind of thing, because it would have to have, you know, this thing so that when you open it, the lace can open out, kind of thing. So it's going to be triple thickness. So if you're going to do it, fine, but use really thin lace. So yeah, now I'm going to use the lace that I actually wanted to use for mine in the first place. Forgetful much. I'm just going to nip that off there. Now, thankfully, this lace, I hope, is pretty much going to work out that each of the scallops on the lace I'll be able to use without waste, you know, for the next one. But if, like me, you have cut them by hand, there is always the chance that they're not all the same thickness. So just make sure that you cut for your thickness. If you've done them all the same, exactly the same, you know, and measured and everything, then fine. But I did not do that. So I'm just gonna, so just make sure that I'm getting the scallop in the middle where possible. Alright, so now it's glue time. So we're just gonna splat a little bit of glue along the top edge. As I always say, don't use too much glue. You don't want it pouring out everywhere and generally being a nuisance. Alright, next stage is take them a couple at a time, two or three at a time. Grab your pencil and ruler again, line them up. It's usually a good idea at this point to clip them. There we go. Then we're just going to go from our base and up by that kind of 1.5 centimetre roughly allowance that we made for the eyelet to go in. So I know then that they're all going to be in the same place. So just go ahead and go through the centre of that. There we go. And move on and do your other sets the same way. Alright, so now we're ready to pop the eyelet in. Now, if like me, your cutting wasn't particularly precise, line them up almost completely and then just do that with a pencil and that will be absolutely perfectly aligned then. Then we're going to grab an eyelet and we're going to go through here. Okay, backing ring. Now the key with this is do not close it ridiculously tightly, because if you do, it will be difficult to fan them out afterwards. So you want it to be in place, but you don't want it to be savage. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to fan these out to the kind of distance that I want them to be from each other. I realised I wanted mine going in the other direction, so I've changed that now. And basically you just want to make sure that you've got a bit of overlap on the edges, just that little bit, just so it doesn't quite go over, but close. Okay, so that's that bit. Now I should have mentioned actually, if you didn't want to use an eyelet, you can punch a smaller hole and use one of the little mini brads. You know, you could put that in there and then hang something off of that, or you can use bulb pins and hang things from that. I'm gonna hang, I think I'm gonna hang a charm from mine when it's done. So let's see. So the next thing then is some embellishment. Ah, yeah, that was the other thing, wasn't it? You can also, of course, use some of this. I can never remember what this is called, but it's just, you know, it's like frayed cotton. You can get it, you know, on kind of Temu and Wish and AliExpress and all of those places. I think you might even be able to get it on Amazon, but I'm not sure. But I'd be quite inclined myself actually for this one to make a little tail out of this and then have the charm hanging over the front of it. But first of all, let's glue down those little edges. And again, you don't want a massive amount, and it's better to do it from the back so that you can see where your edge sits, and don't go all the way to the top because you don't need to. Just enough just to hold it in down there, just to stop it from being accidentally pushed around, especially if you're going to use it as a pocket, which is what I will almost certainly use this one for. I do tend to. These are really great as well for mass making and happy mail, because like a lot of the stuff that I make in the tutorials for, like for you guys, is that it's a lot quicker when you're just doing it for yourself. It seems like longer in a tutorial because things are being explained to you, whereas in actual fact you can knock one of these out in sort of, you know, 10 or 15 minutes at the most, really. Once you know what you're doing, you'll just get into a flow of it and it'll be out in no time. So you could definitely put these out in happy mail. So let's get a bit of this, and oh, scissors said no thank you. Now I tend to twist things like this, and then you've got a nice kind of lumpy edge that will go straight through without the need for, you know, tweezers or anything like that. I'm not actually sure this bit's going to be long enough for what I want. Oh yeah, it will, definitely. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that around there so it sits a little bit more in the middle, and then I'm going to get a bulb pin, and I'm going to use that to secure the fabric at the join as well. So it serves two different purposes. Oh my life, should not be that tricky to do that. I might have it that way actually. And then, yeah, then it's just a case of deciding what goes, you know, nicely on there. So I think I'll just pop that one on actually. And then, all right, so that's so far. And then if you wanted to, and I think I do, what I'm looking for is right here. I do like to put a little something extra, you know, so I think I'm going to cut some of these and just kind of stick them on each of the blades going around. So I know I've got 9 blades, so I know I need 9 of these. So we'll just grab these. If I just grab a handful first, and then you can just see, and then I'll put the rest on after. So, oh, that was a bit too much glue there, Becca. You do not need that much glue. So just like that, you know, just kind of in the middle, thereabouts, but with just slightly less glue than I thought was reasonable. Oh dear. What do we like, guys? What do we like? Right, so there you go. Oh, that one's going to stick to my finger. There we go. All right, so it's looking like that. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead now and black the rest of those on. All right, so that's those all on there. So there you go. Let's I'll see, maybe it needs a little focus there. So there you have it. I hope that I hope you've enjoyed making one of those. Love to see your creations. As always, you know, feel free to tag me on social media if you're in any of the same groups as me. I'd absolutely love it. It's how this tutorial came to be, was because the lovely Aurora did actually tag me in the picture to say, look, I did it. And now obviously then people want a tutorial, so here we are. So yeah, do feel free to do that, and then hopefully more tutorials will pop up that people want as well, and I can get them done for all of you. Obviously I'd like it if you were to give the video a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, please do. My next follower giveaway is going to be at 750 subscribers, and I think I'm at like 670 maybe, so you know, to be honest, I haven't really kept an eye on it the last week or so, my bad. But yeah, there you go, all done, and I'll see you in the next tutorial, guys. Happy crafting.